Stage 1 of the Blast Austin Pick'ems are here, and guys, we might be cooked. Or at least you might be cooked if you don't watch this, because you probably don't know about quite a few of these teams, okay? What do you know about Chinggis Warriors, huh? Tell me what you know about Chinggis Warriors. Yeah, that's right. You don't know, you know? Like, seriously, this is going to be a tough stage. A lot of teams that you guys probably haven't seen too much of, which is why I've done a good bit of prep. I've done a good bit of research. And I think there are only two things that you absolutely need to do, okay? The first one, and the easiest one of all, guys, put Heroic 3-0. Don't overthink this. Don't overthink this one. Don't get stupid with it. Don't get silly. This is an obvious pick, okay? Tanir is probably the best player at this stage. He is incredibly good. LNZ is a very solid caller. I think even in the future stages, these guys are a contender to make it through. And, you know, Youngster I actually think is a very solid supportive player. Some Pius has maybe been a little inconsistent compared to what I would want him to be. But at this stage, he should be good. Like, come on now. And importantly, I think they are the most consistent team here. Easily the most consistent team here. And also, they have the easiest opening matchup against Chinggis Warriors. A lot of the other opening matchups are way too close to a 50-50. Heroic are beating Chinggis Warriors. I'm sorry, they are. And in a best of one, that's already a big start. Just look at their recent results, okay? You know, at Dallas, they finished 7th to 8th. They're able to beat Aurora, beat FaZe, right? They only lose against Falcons and then Aurora again. And then they also 3-0 to the EU qualifier to get here. Maybe not against the hardest opposition in Paravision, ENCE, and Nemiga, but they're just a very solid team, guys. Do not mess this one up. And on the other side of the coin, the only other thing I think is very obvious is I think you have to put Chinggis Warriors 0-3. I think you do. All these other teams at least have something about them. And I just don't think, firstly, that Chinggis Warriors have the individual players or the experience to cause an upset, right? Like, a lot of these other teams, they at least have individuals where I can see them just winning a map based off their individuals alone. And Chinggis Warriors, they might have that, like, a little bit, but they don't have the experience. They're losing against Asian teams you probably haven't really heard of. Like, they'll lose against the Huns sometimes. They'll lose against Eruption. And even if you're an Asian CS fan, this isn't the team you're excited about. It's Tailoo or Lin Vision who you think probably have a chance here. So they're the worst team here. Just put them 0-3, please. Okay, now that we've got past that, we'll get into the rest of it, because I don't think it is easy from here. I do think this is going to be the most common 3-0 pick, is Complexity, because we have seen them at top tournaments. And honestly, I don't have full faith in these guys, but I think they're the best 3-0 pick. I think they're the next best pick. I think Grim has been very good lately. I think at this level, Hulzerk will be good, and he has been good as of late. And Sexy, he can make plays. I think he is a bit inconsistent, but I think he plays with confidence, and I like that. I think that will transfer into this stage. Something that's maybe a bit scary is even their opening matchup against OG, I don't think that's a guarantee by any means. Like, I really don't. But, like, they've been good enough, I think. And like, you look at their recent results, right? At Melbourne, they were able to beat Pain, who are a decent team. They lost against Gamer Legion, which at the time didn't look great. But Gamer Legion, I think, recently have showed us that they actually are a bit better than we expected. And that them missing the major was, I'm not going to say a fluke, but it was just unfortunate. And then also, you know, back at Bucharest, they also lost against Mongols, which is absolutely fine. And then, you know, back at Bucharest, they actually did pretty damn well. Like, they were able to beat FaZe. Yeah, a wounded FaZe, but still FaZe. They were able to beat Aurora. They were able to beat Falcons with Nico, not Monacy, but still. And their only losses were against G2 and FaZe. I think they're good enough. I think they play good enough CS. And I don't really have that much faith in a lot of these other teams to 3-0. So I think I've got to go with them. Okay, Bet Boom. By the way, why are some of these logos cut off? That's how you know this stage is scuffed. Like, Bet Boom there, they're cut off at the side. FlyQuest look like they're a bit cut off at the side. I am going Bet Boom as my next team. I just think Boomich as an IGL is genuinely very good. I think he's way too good for this stage. Mango Jez and Zorte are also, like, pretty good players. And Axal's been a bit lately, but he was better in the qualifier. You know, and they've also had to, like, kind of grind a bit recently. Like, they had to win a bunch of BO1s in quick succession at this Yala tournament, which I think did well for them and kind of showed me that they can go through this sort of gauntlet, that they can stay there mentally. And their opening matchup is against Nemiga. I don't actually rate Nemiga that highly, even though they did well in the qualifier. But also, dude, Namiga are just a super skilled team, and they just have really good individuals. So it is kind of a scary matchup. And also, Namiga did beat BetBoom in the qualifier, okay? So, like, maybe this team will take a loss or two, but I think in general, their form has been good enough. And also, they're kind of the one example we have of an EU team playing against the Americas teams. And this is important because at CCT, they were able to beat Wildcard fairly convincingly and beat Imperial. That shows me that they at least are one of the EU teams that probably are good enough to go up against this Americas competition. And I've always thought that with Boomich there, the foundations of this team are solid. You know, in the EU qualifier, as I said, they did lose against Amiga, but they were able to beat Saw, Fnatic, 9 Pandas, okay wins. I think they've been good enough to put them through. Next, I wasn't sure if I was going to go with Bait, but I just think they've got that's something about them, man. I think Bait as a team, I'm never that impressed with them sort of strategically, but I think they just play to their strengths pretty well. And their strengths are they have really pretty good individuals, and they just keep things like simple enough and with good enough teamwork that it works for them. And I think at this stage, I think that will be enough. In terms of players, they're really pretty well-rounded firepower-wise. MPL and Headtrick are probably the standouts. They're both very good players at this stage. Kenzazor sometimes is maybe a bit of a weakness for me, but I'll digress. Again, kind of simple CS, but like you look at their recent results, they have got wins against Heroic and BetBoom, who I have here. They also lost against Heroic in that same tournament. And then, you know, they had to grind back through the EU qualifier, right? They went down 0-2 from the BO1s, and then they had to win like 5 or 6 BO3s in a row to get here, including that one against Astralis, where there was a lot of pressure, including one against Ensign, 9 Pandas. I think that shows something about, you know, these guys as players and as a team, that they have that ability to do it in big moments and in pressure moments. And I think that is enough to shine through here. Okay, next. Now, we're starting to get into kind of scary territory, but I think Wildcard have the pedigree. Their recent form isn't actually all that great, but again, they've got the experienced in-game leader in Stanislaw, and their players are just in general, like, just good enough, right? I think Fozy's actually their best player statistically. I kind of think his stats like overrate him a bit. I actually don't think he's all that great. Not quite as good as the stats, but I think the supporting cast is what I remember underrating about this team previously. Jaber and Susp are so solid as role players. They're really, really solid as role players. They won't make mistakes like I think some of these other teams might because they're not used to playing at this sort of level. And, okay, we have to say, Stanislaw is ass, dude. Like, stats-wise, this guy is atrocious, okay? But it probably matters a little less at this stage when the teams he's going up against aren't as crazy good. And I also think Sonic's a pretty good player. So, yeah, recent form, maybe not great, but I think that they're the sort of team that I could see preparing well coming into a tournament like this. Okay, so 3 more spots. And again, we've got a lot of teams like OG, Namiga. These are all teams that I feel like are at similar levels. You know, Imperial, NRG, FlyQuest, Tailoo, Metasport, Fluxo, Vision, Legacy. Like, there's not that much to separate these teams, which is why I think this is tough. But weirdly enough, this might surprise people. Next, I'm going with Tailoo. Okay, and I didn't even think I was going to do this until I watched a few of their games and I actually, like, did my research for this. But Tailoo have been in really good form lately, okay? And they've always had the players. I think Jamyoung is very good. Genuinely a very good player at this stage. He might be like a top 5 player at this stage. Like, this guy is cracked. I'm glad he's back. I think G is a good player as well. And they had some wins with this lineup when they only made a roster move 1 month ago to bring Attacker back in, back at Pro League. They were able to beat 3D Max. They were able to beat Eternal Fire, who are now Aurora, right? And that was only 1 month into their lineup, and they had a lot of close games too. And their recent form in Asia is also very good. Sometimes they will lose against Vision, but they've been beating FlyQuest for fun. These guys always seem to beat FlyQuest. And I also think we're past that stage where the Asian CS teams are so far behind tactically that it just screws them. I don't think we're there anymore. I think we're actually at a point now where these Asian teams, like, they have enough about them tactically and team play wise that you actually get to see the strength of their players. And I really have been impressed with Tailoo. I think they've got the mental fortitude as well. Like, they were 10-2 down against FlyQuest on a map and they beat them 13-10. They came back. They have that ability. They have that ability to come together. And I've seen them do it against EU teams, and I'm going to count that for a lot. So I actually think Tailoo make it, which is kind of crazy to say. Now, next, again, I think I'm going to surprise people because I'm going NRG. This might seem like a wild one again, but they've been really good in NA. They have been really good in NA. They've played Wildcard close, and I think the one that really sold this for me is that a local LAN in NA, Fragadelphia, they played NIP unbelievably close in a best of 3. They took them to like multiple overtimes on the decider map, and we just saw that NIP are a really solid team. And I think they've been a team under the radar for a while, and they did pretty damn well at Astana. And NRG pushed these guys to the limit. And they've got, again, that experience in Nitro, in OC. I think that's very helpful. I think Bro has also always been very solid, and I've seen Bro be one of those players that steps up in important moments, and if the game is going wrong, he just comes in with a solid anchor hold, and he just really can be a glue guy on this team. And I think George is a pretty good player as well. So again, like, this might seem somewhat surprising over some of the other names like a FlyQuest, like an Imperial that you would have seen a lot more from. But I think in terms of recent form and just in terms of what I've seen from this team, I actually think that they play good Counter-Strike and that they will actually make it through here, which might surprise people. But again, I'm telling you, I've done the research and I've been watching these teams, and I actually think they play good CS. Okay, last spot. There's a lot of teams to go between. So you've got OG in there, who I think are a pretty good team. I think you've got Namiga, who are just super skilled, but I kind of hate this team because they are so inconsistent to me. Like, they play pretty aggressive and they just play in your face and they play it well, but I don't think there's much beyond that. You've got Imperial again. You've got FlyQuest, I think you could consider. Metisport, another one you could consider, making it through the EU qualifier. I think you maybe could consider like Lim Vision as well, right? Like, I put Tailoo in there, and Lim Vision are probably the more consistent Asian team, but I don't think they've done as well when I've seen them go international. And I just think Tailoo have that X factor about them, that doing well in big moments. And then you have Legacy, who have actually been pretty good lately. They're a replacement team. They've actually been doing all right. This is so tough, man. Okay. This is so tough. And again, I surprise myself when I do this, but I'm actually going Legacy, which is wild as a replacement team coming in. Lato and Dumao, experienced players, good players. And also, if you guys watch them play against Vitality, they nearly took a map off Vitality. They maybe arguably should have taken a map off Vitality on Dust 2, because they only lost 13-11, and that was with them losing both pistols, right? And having those 2-0 starts against them at the half, right? They also recently beat NRG and Wildcard, who I've put going through. And yes, their qualifier was poor. They lost against Fluxo. They lost against Bestia. I was disappointed by that. But I honestly think, like, in a weird way, they're going to maybe take this momentum they've got recently, this good form, and just this, like, accidental almost nature of being a replacement team. And I think it almost might take the pressure off in a sense. And the only thing that scares me is I wonder if this team are the sort of team that just aren't quite there mentally yet and struggle in big moments, because I've seen them play a lot of close maps against top teams like Astralis. They nearly beat, but then they lost right at the end. They struggled in the qualifier. They did really poorly there. Like, maybe the mentality is the one thing that I'm a little concerned about. But overall, I actually do think, again, they play good CS. Like, against Vitality, they were pretty impressive. You know, nothing too crazy, but, like, I can see that the fundamentals are there. And then they have those players that I think should be able to do well at this stage, okay? And so, yeah, I kind of surprised myself by not picking. And I think some of the guys you can consider picking are, for example, okay, like a Metisport. I'll talk about them. Yes, they won against Astralis, BC Game, and Bait in the qualifiers, and those were actually very impressive wins. But dude, this team is so inconsistent. Like, they can lose against teams that are below 100 ranked in the world. Like, I just can't consistently have faith in this team. I just think that they are the sort of team that could lose to anyone here, right? And that I cannot put as a team that I think are actually going to go through. OG, I think you can very strongly consider. I think Nico Dawes has been very good on this team, and everyone else has been, like, decent. Krizen's a good fragging in-game leader. They haven't played a crazy amount since the qualifier. They've got, like, some pretty good wins, but I just think in terms of player quality, like, I don't actually think it's that great. Right? Like, if they go up against an Amiga, for example, I'd be pretty scared that an Amiga just bang them out the server. That's the thing that scares me. I think they do a lot of things, like, okay, but I don't think that they have that special sauce for me. Okay? FlyQuest, that'll be a big name. And I think missing out on FlyQuest is honestly one of the bigger decisions I've made here. And I actually think a lot of people will pick them because they're that name that they've seen and they're like, oh, dude, I don't know some of these other names. I'll pick FlyQuest. Recently, they have always been losing against Tailoo, okay? I think Regali is good, but I actually think losing Dexter does cost this team a fair bit. As I was talking about, that choke that they had against Tailoo, they just like could not switch things up at all in the moment as soon as things started going wrong. And yeah, they played FaZe close recently, but that was a FaZe that were at their lowest. And I just don't think this team actually has like the firepower, really. Like, yeah, they've got ins and, you know, that's like okay, but I don't think it's enough compared to some of these other teams that I'm looking at. And I think losing Dexter actually loses them a lot of their structure and a lot of their like solid foundations. Like, I haven't seen that as much lately, which scares me. The other thing I want to say about Tailoo, by the way, back at that Pro League where they got those good results, that was actually when their map pool was not that good yet because they'd only been together a month. I think their map pool's been rounded out a lot. They're very good in Inferno, which I think helps a lot. So that's another reason why I'm putting them through. Who else have I missed out on? Namiga, dude, Namiga are the team I'm going to hate here because they will probably cause some upset wins. They've got incredible individual skill. I don't see much depth to their game, but that's going to catch some teams out in BO1s. Yeah, like they could make it through. They could be that sort of Eastern European team that just relies on skill and makes it, but I never can consistently bet on that style of play, especially once you get to the best of threes and there's a bit of prep work that goes into it. I think Imperial, I just don't think have been all that good when I've seen them play lately. Limvision, again, you could consider, but I just think when they go international, they don't seem to do that well against international competition in big moments for whatever reason. And then, for the final 0-3 pick, I think I'm going Fluxo. I just think that a lot of these other teams here at least have the player quality that they should win some maps. And Fluxo, I don't think quite have that. And also, I've not been that impressed by them tactically when I've seen them play, or just like team play. I haven't been crazy impressed. So, for me, Fluxo are the other 0-3. A couple of names I'm surprised I picked myself, but this is my pick'ems. I'm telling you, I think the FlyQuest, not picking FlyQuest is a big one. Not picking OG is a big one. I think a lot of people will go for them, and I just don't quite see them being as good as some of these teams here where I've seen them lately. And NRG, I think that's the sneaky good pick, guys. I think a lot of people will miss out on NRG. I actually think they're very solid. That's my first stage pick'ems. Let's lock it in. This is tough, though, guys. This is tough, okay? We've got to pray for a bit of luck on some of these, but thank you guys for watching. Let's get that diamond, baby. Catch you next time.